Recently, a friend reached out to me and he said, Steve, your biggest problem is you think too much. It's not about thinking, it's about believing. That wasn't the first time I've heard that. When I was 6 years old, we were living in Decatur, Alabama, and my dad came home from work with some exciting news. I was going to be on the front page of the newspaper writing out my letter to Santa Claus. They were going to take my picture and then we were going to put the letter in the mail to Santa. And I said, Dad, that's exciting, but would it be lying? And he said, what do you mean, would it be lying? And I said, well, I don't believe in Santa Claus. And he said, well, why on earth do you not believe in Santa Claus? And I said, well, I've just been thinking about it and it just doesn't make sense. He said, well, what doesn't make sense about it? I said, well, for starters, how does one man get around the whole world and visit millions of children in a single night? He said, well, Steve, that's quite simple. Santa only visits Christian kids. Of course, that presented further problems for me because I was like, well, if Christianity is true, wouldn't one of the proofs of that be that Santa would take presents to all the children? Then it would be undeniable that Christianity is the true faith. But he went on to explain that, Steve, if you don't believe in Santa, you're not going to get your presents. And he said, it's not about thinking, it's about believing. So as I was pondered that, I was pondering the fact that, only Christian children get presents and people of other faiths do not. I was also pondering the reality that it seemed to me that Santa Claus loved rich kids better than he did poor kids. That didn't seem right to me. If Santa was a benevolent being, it looks like it would actually be the reverse, that he would love the poor kids more than he did the rich kids. But I devised a plan. I had this plan that I knew was going to work. We were going to Huntsville, to the old Heart of Huntsville Mall, to do our Christmas shopping. And I was going to see Santa Claus. And so what I was going to do is I was going to ask Santa Claus for something that I had told no one. I hadn't told my friends. I hadn't told my friends' parents. I hadn't told my parents. I have told no one that I wanted this one particular item. And I was going to tell Santa Claus and see if I got it on Christmas morning. So we went to the Heart of Huntsville Mall. I sat on Santa's lap and I told him that one item that I wanted that I had not told anyone else about. So wake up on Christmas morning, and there was that item. Relief. Santa is real. I can now believe in Santa Claus. Fast forward a year into to the next year. My parents were going somewhere, and I was staying with my grandmother and Granddaddy Calvert. Now, I loved doing that. I loved being with my grandmother and Granddaddy Calvert. I felt so safe there. See, I didn't really feel safe at my house when both the parents were around me because they fought like cats and dogs. I liked my parents apart, but I did not like them together. So, Granddaddy would take me on walks or take me fishing, and grandmother would embarrass the hell out of me by telling somebody in the grocery store line about Jesus. But then she would turn around and make me so proud by taking food to those who were in need. I saw that compassion that she had, and it inspired me. So I loved being there. And so one day while I was visiting them, my grandmother had offered to babysit two little girls and a baby. I don't know if the baby was a girl or a boy, down the street, and while their parents were away. So we walked down the street, and I meet the girls, and they take me to their room to play. And they had nothing but Barbies, but luckily they had a Ken, so I could kind of participate in the play. Then, out of the blue, one of the girls suggested that we do something that I knew would put us on the naughty list. And so I immediately jump up and I say, no, we can't do that. Santa will be mad and he'll put us on the naughty list. Now these two girls began to just howl and ridicule me. Oh, there's no such thing as Santa Claus. And so I said, I can prove it. There was an item that I asked for last year from Santa Claus, and I only told Santa and no one else. And one of the girls, the older one, I guess she was 9 or 10, she said, well, let me ask you something. Were your parents around you the whole time when you were at that mall? And I said, no, we went to Santa, and then we started walking toward Sears, and then my dad turned to us and said he had forgotten something in the car and went back. Y'all go ahead and go to Sears. She said, there you go. What he did is he went back and talked to Santa Claus, the guy pretending to be Santa Claus, and asked him what you asked for. I was like, oh my God, my world was falling apart. She was probably right. But I wasn't quite sure. So we go back to after the mother comes home, grandmother and I walked back to her house, and I was depressed. And grandmother said, well, what's wrong, Steve? And I said, well, Santa, they told me that Santa wasn't real. Is that true? And she said, Steve, I'm not going to lie to you, but don't tell your parents. No, Santa's not real. He's just make-believe. He's just a fun part of Christmas. And the first question out of my mouth was, well, is Jesus real? And of course she said, of course Jesus is real. The Bible tells us so. But from that moment on, I always question, is this just another story that adults are telling me?